now for Ask the Experts, and bike shops seeing a massive demand right now as more of us leave our cars at home during the pandemic. But before you pedal into your new method of transportation, be sure you know what to do in the worst case scenario. That being if you're involved in an accident, do you know what to do? Well, personal injury lawyer Brenda Hollingsworth is with Auger Hollingsworth, and she is here to answer your questions in today's edition of Ask the Expert. There's all the information on your screen for how you get your questions to Brenda, 613-789-6559, extension 2803, ottawa.morning at ctv.ca. And of course, you can also message us on Facebook. Brenda, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, let's talk about this. We're really getting the bikes out this year. I know a lot of the bike shops in town are busy, almost struggling to keep up with demand for tuning up the bikes, for people buying new bikes. And that, though, can pose some questions maybe for people who haven't been on a bike on the roads in a while or never before and are trying something new. Are you getting a lot of calls at your office?
Right. It's just starting really as people have emerged from their homes with the nice weather and, as business starts to open and people are concerned maybe about taking the bus with COVID, we're seeing people on bikes and we are getting calls. But again, it's early in the season, so it's just starting. But hopefully we can give some advice about what to do if something does happen.
Sadly, we have seen some tragedies in our city when it comes to bikes, but
we have.
Let's talk about for those that are not as tragic, where we see someone in an incident where they are injured perhaps, what they need to do. Let's walk through that scenario. First of all, what to do right away if you're in a cycling accident.
Right. So the number one thing, obviously, is the health care. So if you are in an emergency situation, first of all, you need to make sure that, you're not in the middle of a dangerous road. For example, in a dooring incident, people sometimes get propelled into oncoming traffic. We've had tragedies in the city here relating to that. So if it's possible to get out of the street, you want to do that as quickly as possible. If you need an ambulance, you need to either call it or call for help so that an ambulance is called. And that's really number one. But what we see most often, most cycling accidents are not that extreme. What we see is that somebody gets knocked off their bike in an accident. They think they're mostly okay. Adrenaline is pumping. And sometimes people just leave the scene. The driver probably doesn't have damage to their vehicle, or maybe it's very minimal, so they aren't thinking about their own insurance because they're not thinking about having the car repaired. And so if the cyclist doesn't ask for information, you could find 24, 48 hours later, you are sore or more injured than you thought, and you don't have any contact information. So that's number one, getting the driver's contact information, even if you think it's not that big a deal. That's number one.
Yeah, you mentioned adrenaline, Brenda. In a moment like that, you could be up on adrenaline, you could be in shock, you could be injured in a way that maybe keeps you from being able to get up. Do you advise people even ask bystanders, someone who could have witnessed it maybe, to help you out in getting that information?
Yes, that's right. Like having a witness to a cycling accident is so important because when there's a disagreement about how an accident happened with two vehicles, we have a lot of evidence we can rely on, like where the marks are on vehicles, for example, and we can take those to an expert and they can often reconstruct the accident with pretty good accuracy. But with bike accidents or pedestrian accidents, it's much more difficult. So if you can get the name of a witness, that is amazing. Get them to put their contact info in your phone. You probably don't have a pen and paper in your pocket, and that's okay. But, if you can either take a picture of their info or get them to enter it for you, you will be so thankful later on. Because you're right, adrenaline is a really serious thing. And again, it happens in regular car accidents too. You don't feel injuries at the scene, but we're very well trained to exchange information after a two-vehicle accident. But with cyclists, we find very, very often they come to us injured with no driver info, and that's much more difficult.
Okay. All right. We're going to keep this conversation going. Brenda is with us this morning for our Ask the Expert segment. We're talking specifically this morning, if you're just joining us, about cycling accidents, as so many of us now with the warmer weather are getting our bikes out and maybe even choosing a bike over your car or public transit in this time of COVID-19. So Brenda is staying with us. She's on standby. Get your questions to us. She will answer them for you right here live on the air. There's all the information on your screen. You can call us or send an email.